Hey everybody, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing good. I am doing just great. So we are here with GreeneTerror's tribute guitar, and it's glowing. It's glowing by itself. I have no black light, no other lights on inside of here, other than had the LED overhead lights on, and it charged itself up. So it's glowing pretty good. I like how it's doing this, and I wish the camera would pick up exactly how I'm seeing this. Unfortunately, it's not, but it's a lot brighter in front of me than it is on actual camera. So I have to go through the process of buffing this, and there is a little bit of a process that has to be done before buffing this, and basically just going through different grits of sandpaper to get the finish a certain way before smoothing it out with rubbing compound. So let me get the lights going on, and so I can actually see what I'm doing here and how I'm doing it. Alright, so I have got this sanded down already up to 1500 grit sandpaper. Everything is really nice and smooth. All of the crisscrossing that was on here, the indentations from after clearing it before, or actually after putting on the glow in the dark spray, you had the mesh on here, so that created X lines all over the place. It's all been smoothed out so you don't feel any texture whatsoever. So I still have the mounts covered up over here. I'll be uncovering those before I do the buffing. But yeah, this thing came out really nice. It's a nice body to begin with. I kind of like how this Les Paul was. It's too bad that this had a pretty nice veneer on it, flame maple, but you know what? It's going for a good cause, so let me get into it. So right now I am working with 2000 grit sandpaper, and I'm doing a wet sanding on this. Now when I do my wet sanding, it'll be a lukewarm water with a mild dishwashing detergent inside of it, like Dawn or something like that. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a lubrication as you're sanding it. Once the sandpaper starts slipping over the project and it feels like it's not grabbing anything, well, you've got some clog in your paper, and you're going to have to rinse it off again and then go through it. Now, being careful, because water swells wood, and when you swell up the wood, it's hard to get it to go back down, so you got to be careful around areas like where these holes are and stuff like that. So I kind of not really dry sand it in those areas, but I don't have the sandpaper as wet as I normally would have it if I was sanding a solid surface that has no drilling inside it whatsoever. So I'm using a foam rubber pad, and it's kind of a stiff foam rubber pad, but it does kind of contour with the shape of the body a little bit. That way I get more sanding done and not have to sit there and worry about flat spots, especially on an arch top body, to where there are some nice curves to it, and it'll end up giving it a even sanding all the way around. Now I don't have to palm this sanding block because it's stiff enough to where it's not going to move on me, but still stiff enough or loose enough to be able to follow the contours of the body. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up with the 2000 before buffing her out to a nice gloss finish. Alright, so I'm still working with the 2000 grit sandpaper, and I'm still block sanding it, but this time I'm using a rectangle block. And what I'm doing with this is the sides are going to get sanded now. Like I said, everything's been done with 1500 grit sandpaper. Started off with 800, 1500, now I'm doing 2000. I can go with a 3000 afterwards, but to be honest with you, I really don't have to do that with this. This spray that I'm using or have used on this guitar was made by Custom Paints, and it's the custom cans edition of the spray cans of paint, and it works out really good. Now this is supposed to take like 24 hours to cure up, and you're supposed to be able to polish it out after 24 hours. Now I let this sit longer than 24 hours to let it dry, cure up really good, and get nice and hard. And I wanted to do so because I'm going to do some aggressive sanding on it on the top of this. Not so much too much aggressive on the sides and the back, because the top had a texture to it and I wanted to remove that. So I let this cure up, and then find out that this paint is actually pretty damn hard. And it says now it's supposed to be scratch resistant, and well, there is a UV protectant inside of the paint, the clear coat, so there should be no reason why this will yellow out in the future, and I'm hoping it does not, because this bone white color is really nice, and I'm really happy with the outcome of it. It's not white, but it's not a gray either, and it works out perfect with this, because if you took a black light on pure white paint, pure white will glow with a black light. This bone white doesn't. Alright, so I have a little bit of work here to do, and I'm going to continue to sand the sides of this, block sanding it with 2000 grit. Alright, so now I'm going to sand the back of this, and what I'm doing is I'm still going to be block sanding this, but with a stiffer block, and this is a body and fender block that I stole from the garage that we used to use on the vehicles for sanding flat panels. And yeah, this thing's got some years on it. It's probably as old as I am, and still works like a charm. So I want this back to be nice and flat. I don't want no waves in it. I want the reflection of either the lights or anything that is around it to be nice and flat and straight, without having any like disruption or anything else as far as God, I can't even remember the word, but I want it to be a mirror. That's what I want. I want it to be a mirror. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this down. Again, still using the 2000 grit sandpaper, and I want to go over this evenly all the way down. Alright, so I got my area cleaned up over here. All the sanding has been complete. I've got some rubbing compound on the surface of the guitar. Got my yellow pad on my buffing drill, and a black pad over here, which is a little bit more softer for the other stage of rubbing compound. So I'm going to go ahead and spread this around, and I'm doing the back first, and I don't want to have too much sling, so I'm going to spread this around instead of having one big clump and working that clump in. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and here we go. So the bad thing about white is that it's really hard to see how much of a gloss you got going on after buffing. So best way to check this out. Also, it's hard to see if you got all the rubbing compound wiped off of it as well. It's not like a darker color where you can see like a smudge mark or something on there, or even if there's a dull spot or something. White is a little bit harder. So the best way to do this is just to get it in the glare of the lights and look at it to see how much progress you actually made. Now, look at how square that fluorescent light is. No distortion. Everything moves and stays intact as far as what you're looking at as a reflection. This is flat as a board. Actually, it's flatter than that. So, unfortunately, one time with the rubbing compound on any painted surface that you want to buff out, one time with the first cut, well, isn't going to cut it. Usually I'll go over this a couple times with the first cut with the rubbing compound, and that just brings it out even more. Now I know how to use the buffing wheel, how much pressure to use, the speed of the drill that I'm using. The Hitachi works out perfect as far as the RPMs goes, so where it just doesn't heat up that much or sitting in one spot for a very long time and start burning through your finish. As far as this clear coat by Custom Cans go, I like it. I really do. And I'm thinking about switching over from Spray Max to the Custom Cans. Custom Cans is a little bit more cheaper, a little bit more different as far as, you know, getting the cracking open the can, as far as getting the additive, the hardener that's inside of it, to mix with the paint that's inside, the clear that's inside the can, because basically you have to pull a tab and then twist it completely all the way around. It kind of reminds me that it's tearing something on the inside, and instead of having just a regular ball moving around inside of the can, when you shake it, it feels like there's something else moving around inside the can too. So I'm wondering if it cracks open basically a small cap, and as you turn it, it cuts it, and that now is loose inside of the can. Doesn't affect the spray, it doesn't affect how it's spraying, but I do like the outcome. I spit on the guitar, sorry. I do like the outcome of what this stuff does. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit this again, and I'm gonna work on the sides and then followed by the front. So I'm gonna go ahead and do another on the rubbing compound on the back of this. Alright, so after the second time around going with the rubbing compounds, you kind of feel a lot difference in how the finish feels and looks. So now I got to do the sides, and then I can get on with the top. Now the sides are a little bit more difficult because I can't stand this thing upright and go over the sides with it. I gotta lean it over the edge of the counter in order to get it enough pressure so the rubbing compound and the pad actually does what it's supposed to do, and that's to polish the top. Now the horn area over here, I got different types of polishing pads for doing that area over there. That way this area here does not look dulled out and has just as much gloss as the rest of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this thing over and start working on the edges. Alright, so I am ready to start working on the top of this thing, and right now I got some rubbing compound squirted on the top of the body, and I kind of want to move that around to get it to smear out a little bit and hopefully not sling all over the place. You notice I'm kind of like not putting any rubbing compound in the control area, because the rubbing compound will actually make the control holes swell up as well. So I'm going to kind of go over this, but really lightly, a little bit longer, and kind of get it to blend in without using a lot of rubbing compound to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this. Alright, not bad, not bad at all. Does it still glow though? Do I still have the glowing that I had before? Yep, she still glows. Alright, so I have one more rubbing compound to use, which is more of a polishing compound, and then I'm going to get started with that right now. Alright, so the rubbing compound that I'm using right now is gray in color, and it also gets a softer foam pad to spread it and polish it in. Well, it's not really a rubbing compound, it's more of a polishing cream. So there's a difference between the two. Rubbing compounds is more aggressive, it's got a little bit of a grit inside of there, which helps cut the finish in order to give it a shine. Now, it's not complete without using the next stages of rubbing compounds, which this one here is part of the next stage, and it's basically a machine polish. So this will bring out the finish a little bit more and give it a nice look. So I'm going to go ahead and smooth this out a little bit. Don't take a lot to use, and start polishing this. Alright, so the next product that I'm going to be using on this thing, after now it's been buffed out with the rubbing compounds, and then it's been buffed out again with a polishing compound, is a sealant type wax, which protects the finish on here pretty damn good, and also gives it a nice deep shine. Now, this product was given to me in a kit, actually, by Wally in a Box, and thanks again for that. I've been using it a lot for a lot of different things, and it works out really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this product, and it works really nice as a protectant and shield. Alright, so it's just like any other wax. You use a generous amount, like for this whole area here, I'll be using this much, and just spread it around. You can go in a swirl motion, you can go side to side if you want, you can do it however you want to do it. But I kind of like to do the swirls. It's got a very nice smell to it. It smells really good, actually. And this will protect the finish from, you know, anything. Stains, helps with scratching, also helps with UV lighting. Well, it gives it a real nice deep shine. I'm going to go ahead and do the sides with this as well. And after applying this, let it dry. Walk away from it, have a cigarette, have a Coke, have a beer, whatever you want to do. And then I'll come back with a polishing rag and polish this out. Alright, so I'll be back.